Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squad for boxing news and views from around the internet. The remarkable story of Dave Allen, it will continue April 20th when he will face Lucas Browne. That has been confirmed now. There's a press release which I'll get to and some thoughts on the whole sort of situation. Derek Chisora will also be facing Senad Gashi. So it's a co-feature type arrangement, two heavyweight fights topping the bill. And on the promotional poster here, but you can see on screen, Dave Allen and Lucas Browne, they are sort of front and center here. And actually, if you look at Lucas Browne here, I'm just not sure how much they've airbrushed this. Something about those eyebrows doesn't kind of, it doesn't look right, does it? Kind of reminded me of this. But I digress. Anyway, this situation with Allen and Browne headlining April 20th, Chisora and Gashi. When I first heard the news, I was thinking, I might be able to have a little bit of a rage about this because I wasn't thinking this was the greatest card in the world. And then I started to think about this whole situation with Dave Allen, where he's come from, where he's been. And I put out a tweet actually, and he actually retweeted this. But not only that, and I've only just discovered this when I'm bringing up these pages, to different pages on the internet, which I'm screen capturing for the video, that he also put it up on my tweet. He screenshotted it and put it up on his Instagram. So we will go to that. So what I said on Twitter, so this is my tweet, which he's put over to Instagram. In many ways, a remarkable story. David the Whiter One, that's Dave Allen, was on the verge of quitting 9 months ago after losing to Tony Yoka. He then takes another fight at short notice with Nick Webb, grabs a stunning KO, later goes life and death with an unknown Argentinian, now headlining at the O2. And apologies, I only just realised they didn't spell headlining right. Often happens, you sort of miss those things, your brain doesn't pick it up. But anyway, it's been a remarkable sort of turn of events in the past, less than a year. And even before that, Dave Allen had sort of the ups and downs with the Lenroy Thomas fights, especially the one, the rematch, which was cancelled as a result of, or not cancelled, but it was called off in the ring as a result of cuts. And so Thomas kept his belt, and then ultimately Joe Joyce took it from him in his next fight. But Dave Allen has been through this massive roller coaster. And you think about, he was talking about quitting after losing to Tony Yoka. Yoka put it on him in that 10th round. And this is only June last year. So much has happened since then. He was talking about headaches, not feeling good after that. But now, just, a number of months later, he's going to be fighting Lucas Browne and headlining at the O2. It's an amazing turn of events. And you can see here, Dave Allen says, never give up. And there are certainly arguments to say that, does Dave Allen and Lucas Browne, along with this other co-feature fight of Derek Chisora and Senad Gashi, is this worthy of headlining at the O2? And we can certainly have a debate about that because the card, overall, maybe it is a bit weak. But looking at it, I think it's going to be quite a fun fight. I think it's going to be quite a fun card overall. And if we actually go to the promotional poster again here with Lucas Browne and the Star Trek eyebrows, this fight of Senad Gashi and Derek Chisora. Chisora will be, favourite to win that. Gashi is a bit of a banger, and he showed that in spots in the Carlos Takam fight. Ultimately, he was dropped 3 times and eventually knocked out in that one. For the first few rounds, it was a really different sort of strategy that Gashi employed. He tried to make Takam work, moved him around the ring, but ultimately, it didn't really do him much good. Takam didn't really seem to get gassed as the way that Gashi may have thought. And Gashi sort of started to tire and went, okay, well, I'll plant my feet and I'll start trading with you. And he lost. So we may see a little bit of that in the early part of the fight against Derek Chisora. But as with the Dillian Whyte fight, Derek Chisora is savvy enough to know what's happening and when, and he will, conserve his energy or enough of it to make sure that he isn't gassing out to the point where Gashi can take over. So it could be a similar fight. Gashi moving early and then Chisora really starting to pound on Gashi when he stops moving around the ring. And it could be potentially another knockout. And this Allen and Lucas Browne fight, well, this is going to be, a bit of a slugfest. And I favour Dave Allen in this one to win it. I think he is going to stop Lucas Browne, and if you've been following this channel for any length of time, I've been saying this for quite some time. I think Lucas Browne is a knockout waiting to happen, and I think he will get stopped in this one, and possibly by a body shot. Dave Allen does have underrated body punching. Samir Nebo found that out firsthand. Also on the card here, you've got Conor Benn. Yeah, he seems to be a bit of a fan favourite. You've got Josh Kelly defending an international welterweight title, WBA strap there. And also you've got Joe Cordina facing, someone else here, Townend. Not sure who that is. But anyway, so the heavyweight fights are what I'm focusing on here. But the rest of the card, with some of the names there, there's going to be some interest in this. But, I'm glad it's not pay-per-view, because it's not pay-per-view quality. But it should be a fun night of boxing. And these main events, there could be a lot of action. I would suggest that, it's going to be all action in the main fight of Allen and Browne. And Gashi and Chisora might be a bit of a mixed bag, where it sort of starts off slow, a bit of a slow burner, but really sort of high octane in the end, ending in a knockout. And if we go to the press release here, White Rhino's in the form of his life after notching successive stoppage wins over Nick Webb, Samir Nebo, and Ariel Esteban Bracamonte in the second half of 2018. The Doncaster fans' favourite rich vein of form began with a life-changing fourth-round knockout win against Webb at the O2 in July, and he hopes to make it 3 KOs from 3 fights at the Greenwich venue next month. Browne returns to the scene of his sole career loss to Dillian Whyte, determined to redeem himself with a big knockout win over cult hero Allen. Since that loss, the 28-1 Australian, whose career best win came against Ruslan Chagaev in 2016, has bounced back with 3 wins, and he believes another victory on April 20 will fire his name back into the world mix. I'm not quite so sure about that. So Allen says, "I've never trained so hard in my life. I'm going to knock Browne's spark out. I hit too hard for him. Even though there's no animosity in the build-up, I want to punch him all over the O2 into row Z." Lucas Browne isn't the Lucas Browne who beat Chagaev. He's a faded force. That being said, he is still very dangerous. He does have that power, but this fight is perfect for me. He's a former world heavyweight champion. A win here puts me on the big stage, not the highest level, but within touching distance of a fight that would help put me there. And I agree with Allen here. I think Lucas Browne is a faded force, and a win here will put him, in line for bigger fights, but not at the highest level, but something approaching closer to it. As he says, within touching distance. And I think he recognizes that Lucas Browne isn't the draw or, the fighter that he once was. And this is a certain fight where he could potentially look very good in. And I am picking, as I mentioned before, a stoppage for Dave Allen. So he says, to be at the top of the bill at the O2 means loads. The support is something special. I'm unbeaten at the O2 with 2 huge knockouts, and I'm very confident in making it a treble. So Lucas Browne says, I'm eager to redeem myself at the O2 and will be coming for a knockout. I'm a fan of Dave. I have nothing bad to say about him, and I'm looking forward to a good old-fashioned brawl on April 20. This is the fight for me to showcase who and what I am to the masses. It's a blockbuster fight, and I know Dave is a big crowd favourite, but that will drive me on to silence the fans. I'm at the stage of my career where I need to be 100% serious. I think most people would argue pro boxers need to be 100% serious at all times because, if you're not, you can lose. And that sort of, came to haunt Lucas Browne back in March 2018 when he got sparked out by Dillian Whyte. So he continues, I'm too old to play around. The loss to Whyte was the kick in the butt that I needed. And since then, I've changed my promoter, team, training, and general approach to boxing. And then it talks about the Chisora fight facing Senad Gashi. He's got a new trainer, Dave Caldwell. 6 weeks till I go back to war, and boy, I can't wait. On Saturday, April 20th, I will be stepping into the ring at the O2 with fire in my soul. I have a point to prove and mission to continue. And then he continues, Parker bitched out. He must have taken too many laxatives and shit himself. He wasn't ready for the battle. He reckons he needed more time. Gashi has shown he's a true fighter. He is always ready to go to war when called. He showed in December when he stepped into the ring with Carlos Takam on just 1 week's notice and gave him a real fight. I'm not stupid. I know with 6 weeks' notice in April, Gashi will be a different animal. He's a wild horse, a loose cannon, and he's coming to win, but trust me, he won't hear the final bell. I'm ready. We've stepped things through a gear, working hard with Dave Coldwell. April 20th, War Chisora will be back in London to show the heavyweight division exactly why retirement wasn't an option. So Derek Chisora's comments there, and I think even in spite of having 6 weeks notice, and trying to talk up Gashi like he's some sort of animal or something like that, Derek Chisora is the hot favourite for a reason. Gashi, he's a pretty basic fighter. He gives it a go. He's a bit of a banger, but, he won't be able to hang with Derek Chisora. He's, there's levels to this, and he is a cut below Derek Chisora. So Chisora likely to get the stoppage, probably, somewhere from round 4 onwards, maybe round 6 onward. It really depends. What does Gashi do? Does he try to run like he did against Takam, or does he, hold his feet and try to trade with Chisora? In that situation, I see it ending much sooner. But in respect of the Parker comments, well, that really has Joseph Parker not signing on to fight Derek Chisora because he felt that his training time was getting run down by David Haye and Derek Chisora. They were apparently in camp and the contract hadn't been sent. Nothing was signed, sealed and delivered. Chisora is obviously unhappy at that, and it has altered the shape of this card because this would have been the headliner. And if you think back, originally they were talking about Dillian Whyte potentially headlining on this date, and there would be Parker on the card facing Chisora. There'd be Alan Browne, and potentially also Carlos Takam was talked about as well. So now what we've got is Alan and Browne and Chisora and Gashi. So it's certainly not the strong sort of card that it could have been. But, Joseph Parker's camp had called for a contract. They felt that the time was getting run down. They were going to have a shorter training camp that they wanted, that they'd already flagged that they needed. And ultimately they pulled the pin and sort of called the bluff and said, we're not going to step into the scenario that we're not happy with. It's in some ways a disappointing situation, but I can also understand their point. But what do you make of this card, and what do you make of Dave Allen and this? It really is kind of a remarkable story, his career. And often I've talked about, a number of boxers, needing a bit more, X factor and, really working the public on social media and sort of engaging. And Dave Allen, for his limited talents, because let's face it, he's maybe a top 50 guy at best, but his popularity well outstrips his in-ring performance, and people want to see him do well. People are pulling for him. They want to see him, get in good fights, perform, and get to a bigger fight, and, get something that he, can work towards. And obviously a big part of it for him is, the mental aspect. He does get depressed, and even within this camp, he sort of admitted that there's been a few times where he's been down. But he does have something about him that fans warm to. And with the interaction that he has with fans and how open and honest and engaging he is on social media, a lot of other fighters could take a page from his book to try build themselves a little bit of profile, because at the end of the day, it's not just the in-ring that counts. A lot of fans have warmed up to Dave Allen because of his personality and the way that he portrays himself to the world. So I think a lot of other boxers can take note from what he's been doing. There is a bit of a template there, but anyway, I'll leave it there. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.